Hi guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make a basic pair of mittens, and these do have a rounded top on them. I had that as a request recently. I do have a video on the pointed top mittens. If you're interested in that, I can link that video below as well. I will say these aren't the warmest mittens just on their own, but what I like to do is take another mitten like this one. This is a cable design that I have on my blog, and I can link the written instructions for that below. Because it is a little more intricate, I didn't want to do an entire video on it. But yeah, I'll make this mitten and then use a basic mitten as a liner. So as with all of my knitting videos, I do like to include the written instructions for each project as well. So the written instructions are on my blog. The link will be below. And yeah, let's get started.
For this project, you'll need a skein of the Baby Bee Sweet Delight yarn in Naked. And I do find that one skein is sufficient to make a double-walled mitten if you're interested in doing that. A pair of size 7 needles, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle. We're going to start out by casting on 48 stitches beginning with a slip knot, and to do that I'm going to cross my yarn over my palm in an X shape and then slide that off my hand, which creates a pretzel shape. I'm then going to grab this inner right loop and pull it tight. Once I have that first loop, I'm going to slip that onto my needle, and that is my first stitch. To create more stitches, I'm going to wrap the tail of my yarn around my thumb, bring my needle through that loop, bring the working yarn or the yarn attached to my ball of yarn around the needle, and then pull that thumb loop off. And just to kind of give you an idea, I'm going to do a few more, and we want 48 stitches including that slip knot on our needle by the time we're finished. So as you can see, I have 4 stitches cast on now, and I'm going on to my 5th. I'm now going to start working on the cuff, working K2 P2 ribbing. So I'm going to knit the first 2 stitches by inserting my right hand needle from front to back on that first loop, wrapping my working yarn around the right hand needle and then pulling that loop through. I'm going to do this once again, bringing my needle front to back, wrapping the working yarn around and pulling through, and then I'm going to switch to purling by bringing that working yarn through the front, and then I'm going to insert the needle from back to front this time, once again wrapping the yarn around and pulling through. We're going to work one more purl stitch, and then to switch back over to knitting, we're going to bring that working yarn through the middle again so that it's in the back. I'm going to work this same way for 10 rows. Now that I've completed that 10 rows of ribbing, I'm finished with the cuff and it's time to start working on the hand. So I'm going to knit the first 14 stitches just the same way that we would knit any other time. And then I'm going to knit the next 2 stitches together, or K2 together. I'm going to repeat this 2 more times so that I only have 45 stitches remaining on my needles. I'm then going to start working in stockinette stitch for 3.5 inches or 8.5 centimeters, beginning with a purl row. So basically what that means is this particular row I'm going to purl all the way across, and then the next row I'm going to knit. I'm going to do that until I've reached 3.5 inches, ending on a purl row. I'm then going to start increasing for the thumb, so to do that I'm going to knit the first 21 stitches, and then I'm going to KFB the next 2. So what that means is I'm going to knit the front loop, and before I pull that loop off, I'm also going to knit the back side of that same loop. Then I'm going to knit to the end, purl 1 row, and then I'm going to increase in pretty much the same manner. I'm going to knit the first 21 stitches, KFB, and then I'm going to knit 2 stitches and then KFB again. I'm going to continue like this until there are 10 stitches in between my KFBs. I'm going to work this next row in pretty much the same manner that I have been working the increase rows. So I'm going to knit the first 21 stitches, KFB, K12, KFB, But rather than knit to the end, I'm instead going to turn my entire work around, purl the next 15 stitches, turn my work again, and then knit the next 15 stitches and turn again. Then I'm going to repeat those last 2 rows, so the purl 15 and the K15 rows, 4 more times. To close up the top of the thumb, I'm going to purl 2 together 7 times, and then purl the last one, turn, and then I'm going to K2 together 4 times. At this point, I'm going to break my yarn, or just use the scissors and cut it, and then put the tail on a yarn needle and thread that tail through the remaining stitches. I'm going to pull this tight and move back to the hand. I'm going to reattach my yarn to the remaining 22 stitches on the left hand side of my thumb, and I'm going to knit all of these stitches. Then I'm going to turn my work and start working in stockinette stitch, beginning with a purl row, and I'm going to knit all 44 stitches remaining. I'm not really going to pay much attention to that hole where the thumb is. I'm just going to knit right over that, and we'll take care of that when we're working on finishing. I'm going to work stockinette stitch until the entire piece measures 8 inches or 20 centimeters from the beginning, ending on a wrong side row. I'm now going to start shaping the top of the hand by slipping the first 2 stitches and then knitting them together in an SSK, knitting the next 18, and then working a K2 together. I'm going to do this twice, so I'm going to do another SSK, K18, and K2 together so that I have 40 stitches remaining. The next row is going to be a simple purl row, and then I'm going to do another decrease row in pretty much the same manner. So I'm going to work SSK, K16, K2 together, and do that twice so I have an SSK, K16, and K2 together so that I have 36 stitches remaining. I'm going to continue doing this until I have 10 stitches between my decrease stitches. This next part can be really scary and it's kind of hard to explain, but basically the idea is that we're going to split the 24 stitches that we have into 2, so we'll have 12 stitches on each needle, but we need the needle points to be facing the unseamed edge. So I'm going to be very, very careful while doing this, and I would suggest that you do too, because this is where you can easily drop a stitch, and you really don't want to do that at this point. Now that my stitches are back on their needles and the points are facing the correct way, I'm going to leave a generous tail and thread this onto a yarn needle. I'm going to finish out with the Kitchener stitch, which just makes the top of the mitten look really nice, and it's a little confusing at first, but it's pretty easy to catch on to. So what I'm going to do is on that first stitch on the front needle, I'm going to slip my yarn needle from back to front as if to purl. And then on that back needle on the first stitch, I'm going to go through it as if to knit. So I'm going from front to back. Then I'm going to go back to that front needle and slip my yarn needle through as if I were to knit. And then I'm going to slip that entire loop off of my needle. Before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and go on to that next stitch on my front needle and go through that as if to purl. Then I'm going to move back to my back needle, go through that first stitch as if to purl, and slip that stitch off. Then I'm going to go back and go through that second stitch as if to knit. I'm going to repeat this until there are no more stitches left. All that's left is to seam up the side of the mitten and the thumb, then weave in any loose ends. And there you go, you have a nice pair of basic mittens. And if you did want to use these as the lining for a different pair of mittens, all you have to do is turn them inside out, put them on your hand, and then put the other mitten on top. Then just sew the two together and you're done. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial and make sure to look out for more. Bye!